Center spokesman and the Colonel. Andriy Mykolaievich will brief us on the latest updates on the ATO zone.
Good afternoon, dear colleagues. We begin our briefing. Yesterday, the train with bodies of people who died in MH17 crash arrived to Kharkiv, and at the factory of Malyshin, and they organized a special lab for that, and bodies were examined by international experts, and according to the agreement, they are given to representatives of the Netherlands. Ukrainian government created all the conditions to organize technical flight from Amsterdam to Kharkiv without any delay. By the same flight, they will transport bodies of the victims to the Netherlands. The first plane departed today. Identification of victims will take place in the Netherlands. As to the military activities in the area of conflict, ATO forces liberated Severodonetsk and Popasna. There, on the central buildings, there are Ukrainian state flag. Now there are battles to liberate Lysychansk. After Severodonetsk is liberated, Ukrainian military man found arsenal of weapons of gunmen and got special equipment for intelligence, then cannon D30, 50 kilograms of plastics, 15 mines, more than 3,000 cartridges, and radio stations of gunmen. During the day, 6 times gunmen were shooting at block posts of Ukrainian forces near Makarova, Dibrovka, Metyolkina, Dyakova, Stukhalova, Balka, Marinivka, Kozhevnya, Luhansk, Ilichivka, Severodonetsk, Avrosivka, Avdiivka, Tarane. They used Russian equipment, Russian weapons. Here's Grad. Our ATO forces, they responded, and there are results. Armed forces of Russia continue to make strides against Ukrainian militarymen from Russia, the territory of Russian Federation. Yesterday, by 10 o'clock in the evening, from such Grad systems, they were shooting at Rosivka, then in Donetsk region, Gerasimivka and Luhansk region. At 2 o'clock in the morning, they were shooting at Uspenka border crossing point, and also at 3 o'clock they were shooting at block post near Partizansk. Armed forces of Russia continue to grow, and not far from the state border of Ukraine, near Kruhlenke, Krucheny Lis of Kursk region. They have a field camp of armed forces of Russian Federation, and they have units of the 32nd Special Brigade, of the 24th Special Brigade, of Special Destination of GRU from Novosibirsk region, and also Engineering and Mining Regiment 56 from Tatarstan. Then across from Hirsk and Gremach, there was in Chernihiv region, there was one more provocation by Russian militarymen. Some units of heavy equipment came closer to the border of Ukraine, and they imitated the attack, and then they returned and were moving on the line of the state border. The situation in towns which are under in the area of conflict, when retreating Russian gunmen, they destroy infrastructure. In Horolka, they exploded a bridge which connects Sonchny and Bessarabka districts. Then railroad near Ilovaisk, Konteynikov, Kudennikov, Rosinka, and Kutennikov, Voykova. In Luhansk region, gunmen mined the bridge near Mikhailovka from the side of Perevalsk and Lysychansk reservoirs of gas station parallel. Because of success of Ukrainian armed forces, which surround the main bases of gunmen, they feel that the lack of weapons and ammunition. We have information that in order to renovate supplies of all the necessary, terrorists are planning to use children as a live shield. That's why the command of anti-terrorist operation asks parents in the area of battles to keep an eye on the children, not to leave them alone. Liberated cities returned to normal, peaceful life during the last days. Units of state service on state Ministry of Emergency, they found 94 explosive devices, and they examined 177 hectares of the territory and 497 buildings. From the beginning of this work in Slavyansk, miners found 4,884 explosive devices and mines. The group of sociologists of 20 people in Slavyansk, they organized their work to support local people. There is a special point of emergent psychological support in the City Council of Slavyansk, and also they in pension fund and social welfare office in the City Council, and they provided already assistance to 290 people, and information and consultations that they provided to 1,553 people in Slavyansk. The bread factory started to work again, and 6% of people have electricity, 70% of households have water. Sanitary station is monitors the quality of drinking water and monitors state of water in private wells. With the support of municipal services and equipment from all Ukraine, residents of the city had like a cleaning day. The deputy of the city council and organized several thousands of local people, and they had a meeting to militants to leave the city. That is in Stakhanov in Luhansk region. Ukrainian government does everything to support people who in those regions that are under control of the terrorists. And the number of Ukrainians who moved from ATO area to other regions, it's about 50,000 people. On the border where with ATO, we have 3 transit points to receive displaced people, and they can receive 400 people. One in Donetsk region that's not far from Krasnoyarsk, Volnovakh, and Luhansk region, it's not far from Svatove city. Ukrainian railroads provide trains, and they to take people out to other regions from ATO area. Today from Luhansk, there will be a free additional train which will take people to Kiev. It will have 15 cars and with 728 seats. In addition to that, to transport residents, people from eastern regions, Ukrainian railroads, they have more now trains from Svatov to Kiev and to Kharkov. Yesterday, the Parliament of Ukraine called on the international community to recognize band formations, so-called DNR, LNR, as a terrorist organization during the meeting of the Council of Europe. The ministers of foreign affairs, they called by the 26th of July to consider the issue of recognition these banned formations as terrorist organizations and to include them into a certain list. The leadership of Great Britain, government of Great Britain, they approved the decision to limit diplomatic dialogue with Russia to cancel planned visits on the highest level to Russian Federation and a meeting of economic delegations from two countries. Also, they seized military bilateral cooperation. Minister of Foreign Affairs of Austria, Sebastian Kurz, supported introduced embargo for weapons supplies to Russian Minister of Foreign Affairs of Czech Republic, Lyubomir Zaoruk. He stated if Russia doesn't stop supplies of weapons and of gunmen mercenaries to Ukraine, then the EU should introduce serious sanctions against the Russian Federation. Minister of Foreign Affairs of Poland, Radosław Sikorski, he stated that official Warsaw demands to introduce the toughest sanctions against Russia, which provides new equipment, weapons to militants in the east of Ukraine. And in official news, during the last day, no Ukrainian military men died. Thank you. Your questions, please.
Good morning. Will you please remain? You mentioned that the Russian troops imitated the military attack. Would you please describe how it takes place? So they demonstrate or pretend they attending with a speed at which they usually attack. They relocate the army forces and move towards the borderline. Then, some meters before the borderline, they sharply turn right, for example, and then move right alongside the border. This creates actually psychological pressure on the military forces of our border forces which control the border. Ukrainian news. We would like to know whether there were any wounded soldiers. 5 wounded people. We have a question from foreign.
Good morning, Colonel. Do you have any information on the kidnapped Nigerian students? There are 9 at the moment. And what is the stage of negotiations to try to get them out?
Thank you for the question.
The issue about negotiations on kidnapped and imprisoned people, this is the responsibility of official borders, and we provide no information for the public because this may spoil the negotiations. But please believe that these are very experienced people who are involved, and we believe they will be finished very soon and finished successfully. Now, I would ask a question about the requirements of mothers about the air mobile brigade. Number 79. Did you do anything to resolve this issue and either to rotate those servicemen? Thank you for the question. Just an hour ago, I spoke to the servicemen in the ATO area, and the officer of this air mobile brigade confirmed that they have sufficient supplies, food supplies, water supplies, but there is information that they are experiencing continuous attacks from the militant side, and of course the situation there is tough, but they have all the necessary supplies and weapons necessary to stay there and to perform their tasks. The relatives of Ukraine the relatives of Ukrainian soldier, deceased Ukrainian soldier, slain Ukrainian soldier.
Voice of America. What is your evaluation of the new sanctions that the European Union is imposing? Are they sufficient? And is this the kind of thing that's likely to change Russia's policy about Eastern Ukraine?
Thank you for question.
The main indicator of the sanctions which were imposed upon Russia, the indicator of their efficiency, we will see when there will be ceasefire from the Russian side, and they will stop fire Ukrainian troops. Yesterday there was an information about Mykolaiv servicemen which escaped from the encircling without any command from their commander. Will you please explain what do you mean? Yesterday there was an information about servicemen from Mykolaiv which were encircled close to Lugansk. What happened there? There were attempts to provide assistance to them, to help them when they were surrounded by militants, and unfortunately each radio signal, each mobile phone signal only worsened the situation. That's why we stopped radio communication, and this allowed us to provide assistance. This suggests that we sometimes have to keep silence, to keep radio silence, to provide real assistance to people.
Could you just repeat for us the situation in two strategic locations on the main roads from Lugansk to Donetsk? Are those now blocked off, controlled by the Ukrainian military? And also, can you update us on specifically along the border, what areas may be open where supplies may be flowing still across the Russian border?
Thank you for question.
Yes, I will repeat and show the major spots which are not closed fully. This is Izvarene place, Czerwonopartyzansk and Dovzhanske, which is not marked on the map, but this is the place where the landmine attacks and fire is continuing, and here also we experience continuous Grad attacks, and also via this passage, border passage, the weapon come to Ukraine, and Ukrainian soldiers now are more experienced how to deviate from all these attacks. But unfortunately, the situation here won't become better until we liberate all these territories around. Also, we need to cut all the roads which go from the border into Ukrainian territory and may be used for the weapons. Also, we expect for the sanctions of the European Union upon Russia. How many battalions and companies are encircled here near Izvarena. Izvarena passage is now under fire coverage. There is no fence there. There is actually nothing. There is absolutely open field, and the columns can cross the border, but Ukrainian servicemen cover them with their fire, and we keep it under control. And during yesterday and today, we can report firmly that there are no military or militant servicemen columns crossing this passage. Can you comment on the encircling of some companies? We do not use the word encircling because we stay in our own territory. This is a rhetoric of the bandits, and they keep to misinform broad public that they shoot over the airplanes, and that they encircle our troops. That is, I officially can inform you that our forces are not encircled. We have continuous contact with them. They are well supplied. And I should say that the moral spirit of Ukrainian army forces and Ukrainian servicemen is very strong. They do not think of neither surrender or setback.
Sergio Cantone, Euronews. I would like to know two things. First of all, whether the situation for the air warfare, the use of airplane, has improved for the Ukrainian army after the incident of the other day. And secondly, whether a possible ceasefire in order to work around the site of a crash would be a problem for the Ukrainian army operations in the area. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. I understand.
First of all, to the first question, let me begin with the second one. In the area of crash, the President outlined the territory with a diameter of 40 kilometers. That is the area, that is the site where we don't, where Ukrainian armed forces have no activities. That is a prohibition by order. As to Ukrainian aircrafts and aviation, military aviation, they are employed where we have intelligence and where there are a lot of big groups of gunmen and equipment, weapons, and they're trying to move that, like tanks, etc. They were trying to pull back, and they take that those armed vehicles, and they had some columns, and our aircrafts were making a strike on those columns, but this is not on the plane crash site.
Again, maybe I didn't get it, but what I would like to know is whether the, say, separatists has decreased their anti-aircraft capacity after the incident of the other day. And so, as a consequence, of course...
Thank you for your question. Зрозуміло.
We understand that terrorists have weapons that they can use against our aircrafts, but we have information about the location, and we receive that information from locals, That's why all airstrikes are planned and done in such a way for our aircrafts in order to get into the radius of those anti-aircraft systems that terrorists have. So we are very precise, and we are trying to say every plane, every aircraft. Interfax Ukraine. We have information that a journalist, a British journalist, Graham Phillips, he disappeared, and he's working for Russia Today. And now they say on Russian TV that he was arrested by Ukrainian military, or maybe killed, because he went to Donetsk airport, and there were battles at night. We don't have information about that journalist, but Ukrainian military men don't arrest journalists. We organize them normal conditions of work. And we are very careful as to the rules in the battle area, because the life of journalists is very important for our military men, because journalists show the truth about what's happening there.
If I could just get a clarification. You said something about the European Union sanctions when you were talking about the Grad missile attacks across the border. So can you clarify what you meant by that? And if the sanctions and the diplomatic approach has not yet had the impact that the West wants it to have, what else do you think the international community should do to help Ukraine to end the rebellion and to convince Russia to stop supporting the separatists?
Thank you for question.
I cannot make now my proposals as to the sanctions Europe should apply to Russian Federation. I personally cannot do that. But European diplomats and professionals, they know what can be done to influence on Russian Federation. There was the first wave of sanctions, and there was the second one. Probably there could be the third one, which should be powerful and such that Russian Federation could feel it, for them to stop supplies of weapons and support to terrorists. As to firing from Russian territory, who gives them orders to make strikes against Ukraine? Directly from Moscow? What about our intelligence? Do they know something about this? Our intelligence has all data, video, pictures, all those strikes that come from Russia. That is done by regular regiments, and they don't do military regiments, and they don't do anything without an order. So we collect all of that, all those effects, and then we will supply those effects to international courts. Everything will be over one day, and somebody will be responsible for that. Thank you very much, and we will be happy to see you at 5 o'clock.
Місця дислокації, кількість підрозділів, рух підрозділів для того, щоб здійснити бойову операцію, ця інформація є закритою. І тільки завдяки цьому нам вдається досягти якихось успіхів. Дякую.
А скільки квадратних кілометрів це все?
Я зараз не готовий сказати в квадратних кілометрах, я готовий на наступний брифінг вам цю цифру сказати.